Did you know that on average, the smarter she is, the more likely it is for her to be single? That's because she would rather be alone than waste her motherfucking time.
Report shows that by 2030, 45% of working women ages 25 to 45 will be non-married, no kids, single. Okay, so you might say, well, what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that, so I wouldn't even ask that. My mind wouldn't have even gone there. Apparently yours did, so hit me with it.
If you think that you're going to be 45 years old, no kids, not married, and that you're going to genuinely be fulfilled in life because you made money,
then you would be absolutely correct. Paul Dolan has studied this extensively, and on the whole, single, childless women are happier, healthier, and live longer than their counterparts. And I'm sure that's exactly what he's going to say too, right? No, of course not. He's going to say something dismissive, patronizing, and sexist.
best of luck to you.
So I think he's a little confused here because it's the single guys that need to hear good luck. Unlike single women, single men are less happy and live shorter lifespans than their married counterparts. And according to Emily Grundy, a lot of this has to do with the fact that we simply don't have the same sorts of vast, deep, rich social networks that women do. Married men lean on their wives to provide all of that, but single guys... Side note, I love that these guys are so concerned about single women and can't be bothered to do a lick of research, and also it turns out that their concern is entirely self-serving.
This is what I believe belongs to that side which it supports. Brothers, I have always seen these discussions about whether they are happier or not. Everyone has their conclusions, but if you go out on the street with a microphone to ask the question, women, out of moderation, will say they are happier. However, antidepressant statistics say otherwise, visits to psychologists say otherwise, and even TikToks say the opposite, as almost all the videos are of women giving advice on how to leave singleness. Why is it that when you see statistics saying 45% of women will be single by 2030, many immediately raise the alarm saying they are happier single, to keep increasing the figure? But it's also to continue brainwashing women into choosing the career path. Brothers, simple propaganda. Because they only talk about women who are happier because they are economically freer, can travel, buy what they want. But they only talk about a minority of women who get good jobs. What about those who didn't succeed, or those who got into debt with credit cards or student loans, those living off the government, those who have to work on the streets to survive? Then, who are the happiest? Because if you make that same comparison with successful men of the same age, these men are also the happiest in the world, especially when the man has the opportunity to always date younger women. So, who is really happy or unhappy?
Ladies, you know I love you to death, but y'all gotta stop with this goofy ass cap of what he won't do, the next man will. As a 38-year-old eligible bachelorette, I could tell you right now, the next man probably won't. You'll get it worse from him. But something that I really want to discuss with y'all, and this is gonna catch me smoke, but you can't cancel reality. The playing field is not level. There are more good single women than there are good single men. And the reality is, what you won't do, the next bitch actually will. There are good women with good pussy and good credit and good manners, thirsty as fuck to come scoop up a man who will go 50% on the bills and come home at night to play his little fucking game. You feel me? You're so worried about aesthetics and keeping up with the Joneses and what so-and-so did on fucking Instagram. You feel like your man ain't putting on for you. Let me tell you something. A good man is a man who comes home every night. It's a man who listens and communicates to you. It's a man who doesn't cheat. It's a man who pays bills and shows up for the children and fixes things where he can. That's a damn good fucking man. And the same way that you want to be loved, he wants to be loved too. Everybody is a fucking prize, not just you. Stop expecting these men to jump through fucking hoops to earn your love, but you're asking for a love that you can't even fucking reciprocate. You got to be willing to give what you want to fucking get in order for that shit to fucking last. So if you got a good man, start pouring into him and stop dangling greener pastures in front of his face, because if you had it like that, you'd have it like that. You feel me?
A round of applause for this woman. She really has her feet firmly on the ground, brother. This woman spoke the truth. The playing field isn't level, as she says. Many women tend to believe that having many men after them means these men are willing to commit, but most just want a passionate night. Then it's, don't call me, I'll call you, and they never call. As a man, you can date 10 women, and a woman can date 20. But out of those 20, only 1 to 4 might want to give her a ring. However, if you are a man of value, out of 10 women, 9 would want to marry you. A valuable man, decent, who works on himself and is firm in his convictions, is worth more than 5 women together. Because as she says, what you don't do as a woman, there's another one willing to do it, younger, with less baggage, more willing to give that man love. This is evident with women who prefer to share a high-value man rather than settle for a simp. That's why you see women speaking ill of their ex-husbands in videos. There's nothing that hurts a woman more than losing a high-value man and seeing him doing wonderfully with a new woman. The kryptonite for women is taking responsibility for their actions, seeing a man happy with a new woman, giving her everything, making that woman happy, the new woman doing everything you didn't do for that man. You got tired of saying was the worst. Brothers, this is like spitting upwards only to have it fall back on your face.
You're delusional if you don't think hypergamy is a problem. Now, hypergamy has become a common talking point for red pill podcasts who like to explain away the rise of young, lonely single men by the fact that women are too picky, that they are evolutionarily hardwired to only go after men of a higher economic or social status than them, and they ignore all of the men below them. The problem is that in order to skirt around the fact that a lot of the data, like that which I've already shown, doesn't support this fact, they have to broaden the definition of hypergamy so wide, it becomes virtually meaningless.
Just be a random dude off the street.
100%. I am not hypergamous at all.
You are so hypergamous, you won't have sex with a guy until the guy is the guy that you're looking for. I think the fact that you are a virgin right now just proves a point that you're like to a very high degree.
The fact that I'm abstinent means that I'm waiting for someone richer than me.
No, hypergamy doesn't mean women are bad.
When did I say bad? When did I even imply that?
Hypergamy is just an algorithm. It's an evolutionary adaptation that women have. It's not a negative or positive thing.
I'm not sure if it's an evolutionary adaptation. I think the reason women have historically been hypergamous is because they were barred from higher education, so obviously the average man was going to earn more than them, but by 2050 we're going to see a total reversal of hypergamy, and
hypergamy existed before there was money.
Hypergamy has nothing to do with money.
If you don't already follow Fahar, please go do so. She's incredibly smart. And what's interesting is she's doing exactly what podcast bros say women should be doing, in not being promiscuous, in being very specific about her choice of partner, and yet she still ends up being criticized for being too picky, for being hypergamous, proving that the only consistency is that no matter how a woman behaves, these men will find some reason to shame and criticize her. But this discussion also brings up the debate. Is women's hypergamy a result of a social behavior due to historically not being in control of their own economic and social destinies, and so having to marry a man in order to elevate themselves? Or, as the podcast bros put it, this is an evolutionary adaptation. Women are now hardwired to this behavior and utterly incapable of escaping it, despite what they may say. This, of course, lets men off the hook, and to do this, they point to the fact that women prefer men who make more as proof of this. But men also exhibit this preference, just to a lesser degree, and who wouldn't want a partner who makes more? I would love a partner who made more money. Fly me around the world, sugar mama. But what you'll never see them do is point to actual studies.
In a moment, we'll look at the data he will present about hypergamy. I can agree on one thing. There are many red pill men who, no matter what a woman says, she can never win. This is true, and I don't support all the advice given by the red pill community. I find some of it rather extreme. However, I disagree with the notion that hypergamy doesn't exist. It may be to a lesser or greater extent in some women, but all have it to some degree. Soon, we'll see more details about what the studies say. But as always, one must keep in mind that a man's value is often linked to what he brings to the table, be it money, status, or physical attractiveness. If a man has a lot of one of these three, it's likely he can access the most beautiful women, those who are looking for something specific in these areas. For a woman, her calling card is her behavior, her feminine energy, and above all, her level of beauty. Being intelligent or having a good job is a plus, but not all men look for these traits in a woman. So, let's see the studies this pro-women man will discuss.
Studies on hypergamy. 2 years ago, a study was published that looked at exactly the kind of educational hypergamy that Galloway was talking about across 27 European countries, where the educational advantage towards women has existed for longer than the US. And they looked at women's educational advantage and those countries' prevalence of hypergamy. They then mapped those against each other, as well as separated out the oldest cohort in red from the youngest cohort, those born in 1980 or later, millennials, in black. And as you can see, that as countries shift and gain a greater educational advantage towards women over to the right, they also decrease in hypergamy. Not only that, but they dip below the zero line, showing that there's actually a higher incidence of hypogamous relationships, where women are dating down. Another study looked at how gender equality relates to those dating preferences, looking specifically at a number of gender-coded preferences, such as age, attractiveness, being a good cook and housekeeper, versus income level, education, intelligence, and social status. And what they found was the greater the gender parity in that country, the weaker those gender preferences were. Which makes obvious sense. The more you are in control of your own financial stability, the less you need to seek that out in a partner. But the decline of hypergamy isn't even that new. A study from 1968 took a broader look at hypergamy in order to answer the question of do American women marry up, by looking at the occupations of the fathers of both husband and wife. And then they took those occupations and put them into different classes based on their economic and social status to see whether there had been any movement, and then mapped out how many men and women had moved up or down their social class through marriage. And what they found was that 250,000 more women married down than up, but that as a percentage of the overall population, this wasn't significant, and overall it's a wash. There was no tendency to marry up or down for women. As one of these studies points out, this disproves that this is evolutionarily hardwired into women. The only delusion around hypergamy is in thinking that it still exists or has been an issue for men for the last 50 years. And this is what Peterson, Galloway, and these podcast bros don't get. That if your concern is genuinely for men who are struggling and not forming relationships, then you should be advocating for women's greater education and income, because that has been the single biggest factor turning around the trend of hypergamy into hypogamy and women dating down globally. But that would mean admitting that women do date down and that men are no longer the top of the food chain. And I'm not quite sure their fragile egos are ready for that yet.
This supports my point that the greater a woman's stability, the more she tends to act like a man. Women who reach higher economic positions are the ones who end up more single. In the end, you know why they choose downward? Because men at their level prefer to pass them by and go for a woman with lower income who will take care of the children. Something almost impossible in a woman who is a CEO, a top lawyer, or in any career where she is highly successful. Another point made is that Peterson is wrong, but what he says is that the higher the value of the man, whether it be economic, physical, or in terms of intelligence and social skills, the greater the number of women he can access. This attempts to refute hypergamy, but ends up proving it right. For a man to access better women, he has to increase his value as a man. Now, what I can see in this study is that as women's income and rights continue to increase, we will see more women looking for a man just for the sake of having one, regardless of what he brings to the table. We will reach a stage where women are in a better economic position than many men. We will see more masculinized and possessive women with the man in whom she invests her time and resources. That's why every day we see more women who are the pursuers instead of being pursued, lowering their standards just to get a decent man. The woman in the next video explains this better.
Telling you, dating on apps can be such a blessing. You have to try it.
So this is so crazy. I also did the same thing. Hustled on the dating apps, found my husband on Bumble, and used a very similar method. When I work with clients and women, I oftentimes say the apps are a tool, and they are a tool for you to hustle and get in front of more people than you normally wouldn't get in front of. And so it's important to use that to your advantage. And it can be a hustle to meet people, but if you're serious about it, they're out there. I used a very similar messaging tactic with finding something in their profile to start the conversation. I didn't do the phone call and all of that stuff because I lived in New York City. I could just easily jump and grab a coffee with somebody or a drink, which is low investment for both of us, to see A, if we have any interest or any chemistry in person, and B, to save me all the time of the chatting back and forth and all that, because I just don't have time for it. Whatever checks and balances you need to put into place to feel safe is fantastic. But both of us are clear examples that if you hustle out there, you use the tools, you meet people, you can find the one.
Brothers, she's right. Currently, dating apps are what's connecting 50% of couples in the last 5 years. People have busy lives and need to use these due to the limited free time they sometimes have. Something I noticed was from a girl who commented on this video. She was advising women to accept coffee dates, which any man seeing this would find most advisable. This woman said that after a coffee date, her husband, like almost every man on a second date, would take you to a better place. It's logical, brothers. Why should I spend a fortune to impress you when I don't even know you? The idea is to get to know each other, not to impress. That's why you see many women complaining about dating apps. Some are not very attractive, others say they don't go on coffee dates, that they hate them, believing they deserve a date at a nice, expensive restaurant. Brothers, learning to use dating apps in these times is crucial for men, because almost all relationships today are formed through this medium. So, improve your game, because now it's the women who are chasing valuable men like you.
Y'all, it's tax season and there's about to be some pissed off people. Like, so basically, the new law is saying that if you are the one paying the child support, like if you pay child support, you get to claim your kids, those kids, on your taxes. So for the moms out there that are collecting child support, you don't get to claim your kids on your taxes. What? I have so many questions. Because what if they're back, like they missed some pay? I don't know. I got so many questions, and there's about to be a lot of mad people. But yep, that's the story. That's what's supposedly happening now. So, I guess sorry. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
I have always said that women never seek what's best for the child, but rather what benefits them the most. Child support is more of a benefit for the mother than for the child. Want proof? Many men who can't afford child support end up in jail, buried in massive debt, or even leaving the workforce altogether. And many of those who do pay end up distancing themselves from their children because the system turns them into nothing more than ATMs. Now, this new law they want to pass would allow fathers who pay child support to claim their children on their taxes. The result? More fathers will want to be involved in their children's lives, even if it's just to reduce their tax burden. Is that a good thing? That depends on how you look at it. What's best for the child isn't always the most ethical or moral choice. This measure allows fathers to lower their taxes, see their kids more often, and climb out of the black hole that is child support. But mothers are furious. Because, in the end, they don't want the money to be shared. They want the privilege all for themselves. It's the same selfishness as always, everything for me and nothing for the man.
My dad told me how much he pays you in child support, and he showed me. I just don't understand how my dad pays $1,900 in child support. When I ask for something, you say no. Also, you use the money my dad sends to take care of me to spend on Erin and Jess, who I assume are her other siblings, and likely they don't share the same dad. That's just my assumption. Sorry, where was it? Okay. When I ask for something, it's always a problem, and you threaten to take my phone away when I do anything you don't like. If it wasn't for me being here and my dad paying you, if it wasn't for me being here, she missing some words, and my dad paying, you couldn't afford to keep the house. I do love you, but I feel like you take advantage of having me here. I'd rather live with my dad, and I just want you to know for it to happen.
Now, although I believe that child support is supposed to be used to take care of the child, and that can include shelter, food, utilities, clothing, extracurricular, all of that. If it benefits the child, that's what child support is for.
Stop it. Get some help. A round of applause for that daughter who was able to see the truth. She realized how her mother takes advantage of her father, benefiting from having had a child with a responsible man, a beta provider, while having two other children from different chads who most likely don't pay any child support. And the girl is right. I'm going with my dad because that money is mine. I don't have to carry your problems. But let's see what this woman has to say to justify it.
But this is one of those situations where we're not being fair. This mom has 3 kids, and we are assuming probably 2 or 3 baby fathers. One child's father is paying $1,900. She's using the full $1,900 to provide for herself and all three kids. No, ma'am. Now, if you ask me, let's say she has $2,000 worth of rent a month. And let's say it's her and her three kids. That means each person costs $500 a month in rent, just for easy numbers. That means that one daughter's portion is $500. So if her dad is paying you 19, you take 500 of that 19 and pay her part of the rent. She got $1,400 left. Even if you use $400 more to pay for her part of the utilities, her part of the groceries, you still have $1,000 left. That baby should be getting a pretty good allowance. There's no way she should have to ask for something and not get it and then be threatened with punishment. No, this is one of those situations where mom is misappropriating funds. And if I was a daughter, I would definitely go live with my dad because I'm not being taken care of at the home that's being provided for by my dad. And I hate to say it, but baby, that mama gonna struggle when she lose that $1,900. And so are the other kids. But she did it to herself by not being fair and not handling her part of the finances.
But it's all for the child's well-being? Pure nonsense, brothers. It's for her own benefit. A beer for this woman who didn't support this theft. The daughter should be with her father, who is being abused by the system. $2,000 for a single child? This woman is living in luxury. I'm sure she doesn't charge the other kids' Chad fathers, or they simply don't give her anything. But if you, as a man, complain to the judge, he'll just tell you that the child is better off with the mother. That's how wicked this system is. If you have any doubts, just take a look at the next story.
Dad was paying child support of about $750 a month for two children based on his income of $50,000 a year. Well, about 2 years into his child support obligation, he ended up inheriting a large sum of money, about $1 million, when his grandparents passed away. Mom got wind of that and hired a lawyer and took Dad back to court and asked for an increase in child support, claiming that that inheritance that he received should be included in income to increase Dad's income, thereby increasing his child support obligation. Well, the court agreed. And what the court did is it took the amount of money that he inherited, divided that by the number of years that the children would be minors and he would have a child support obligation, and then increased Dad's income by that amount. Dad ended up having to pay child support now based on $150,000 a year of income when you included that inheritance in there. What do you think about that? Do you think that's fair?
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
This is a damn robbery. Brothers, how is it possible that if a man increases his income, whether through an inheritance, a better job, or simply because he worked harder, he is automatically forced to pay more child support? This is not fair. That's why Donald Trump has proposed reducing this tax burden for men. Now, imagine that this man loses that money. Do you think they'll adjust his child support payments? Of course not. They'll keep charging him the same amount because that's how this business works. That woman is clearly not looking out for the child's best interest. If the father earned that money, he would naturally spend it on his child like any responsible father. But she doesn't want that. She wants more money for her personal expenses. Don't be surprised if she still uses the kids to squeeze even more money out of him, something she would never admit.
So now Donald Trump telling y'all who can file y'all child at tax time? Apparently so. So Trump done said if the person is paying child support, they're going to be able to file that child on their taxes. Now, I guess it ain't all X and settled, because I'm assuming they're going to make it to where you will have to kind of alternate years, like rotate it, because I don't foresee just because you pay child support, you be the only one get to file the child. I feel like it's just you're going to have that opportunity to file the child. But see, as parents, y'all should have been able to come up with these type of agreements anyway, but now y'all forcing the government to make these decisions for y'all. What a shame, what a shame. But see, now this was going to mess you up. And don't get out here, and because Trump say if you paying child child support, you should be able to find a child. You go and drop the child support off the other parent, because that right there is what's going to really mess you up. You want me to tell you why? Because you being spiteful and you letting greed get in the way, you're going to be stuck taking care of the kid all by yourself. Because you know why? You want to be nasty, drop me off child support because you don't want me to be able to file. Now I ain't giving you a dime. So yeah, don't do that. Continue to let your little child support payments come. And when it's time for that person to file, whether it be the mom or the daddy, because mamas and daddies pay child support, then do what you gotta do. But y'all should have been having these conversations from the beginning anyway. But now I guess y'all gotta once again let the man tell you how to handle your business.
Hey, bro. What? Oh my God!
What's the problem here? Simple, pure selfishness. This law is meant to encourage more fathers to keep paying child support, stay involved in their children's lives, and have a way to recover some of that money. It should be a win for everyone. But no, many women don't care about the child's well-being or whether the father is present. They just want the money. Let's look at the cases we already mentioned. The man who pays $1,900 a month. The one whose child support was based on a $150,000 salary. These men could recover some of that money with this new law. But these women don't want men to have any benefits. They don't want you to do well. They don't want what's best for the child. They want everything for themselves. Believe me, they will do everything in their power to make sure this law doesn't pass.
If you've gone through a divorce, I just need to know, does it get easier? Does it get easier being without your kids? Because all I can do every time is cry. No matter what I do, I always end up crying the whole time. Please tell me it gets better because I can't do this.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Brothers, after all the time I've spent with this channel, I've noticed a pattern. Women on TikTok have turned crying into a business. When you look at their profiles, you see them trying to sell products, talk about medical topics, or anything else. But none of those videos succeed until they post a video crying. Suddenly, they go viral because they're crying about their divorce, their kids, or supposedly being with an abuser. And that's when they milk the topic to the fullest, gaining the support of bitter women who relate to their suffering. But the truth is simple. They don't feel what they claim. They just found a method that works for them to get attention and money. But let's continue.
You're a mom with all those tattoos and fake nails. Could that be a reason your kids were taken away? First of all, my kids didn't get taken away. The amount of comments from mostly men and stupid women like this is so funny to me. I just miss my kids when they're with their dad. I never in my videos said that they don't deserve to be with their dad or anything about their dad. I never said that I cry in front of my kids when they're with me. I never do that. My kids go with their dad on Wednesday evenings and the weekends. I get them 1 weekend a month. He gets them the other 3. I have them a majority of the time technically, but we do shared custody as we should, and I'm happy to be doing that. But I miss my kids. I'm their mother. I've been with my kids 24/7 since they were born, a stay-at-home mom. I miss my kids. What is wrong with that? If I didn't miss my kids and I was running around having the time of my life without them, then y'all would have something to say about that, wouldn't you? But the fact that you think because I have fake nails and tattoos that I'm not a good mom and I should get my kids taken away, you need Jesus.
Hey, bro. What? Oh my God!
So, this confirms what I said. You made this video purely for attention. You picked a topic that most bitter women could relate to, but some, like the one in the comment we saw, noticed your dishonesty. This woman hasn't explained the real reasons for her divorce, but she's tried to sell a self-improvement narrative. First, she turned to drugs to lose weight. Then, she started posting her before and after pictures because, let's be honest, she was fat. And most likely, that played a role in her husband leaving her. Typical of a woman. She only wants to make changes after the relationship is over. But since none of those topics worked for her, she's now playing the divorce card. Coincidence? Of course not. There's no better way for the modern woman to profit off her ex-husband than by exposing her private life to strangers.
Oh, hell no!
Maybe don't post videos of you bawling your eyes out because you miss your kids. Because the internet will rip you a new one. I do want to acknowledge comments like this, just sweet comments. I picked this one because it had a lot of likes. I'm getting insane engagement on my video that I posted yesterday. It's super embarrassing, honestly. It was cringy for me to post, but I have just been struggling so badly when my kids are with their dad. And I just genuinely was like, I need like somebody to help me. Like I need some advice. And I got that times a million, like the amount of comments on that video. And most of them are super sweet, like this one. I just want to say thank you and acknowledge that. I can't read every single comment, but I've read so many of them. And it really did help me. Like it really made me feel less alone. And I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one going through divorce. I know there's people who have it way worse. And people really going through it. Trust me, I know that. Doesn't change how I feel about my situation, about my kids. I just miss my kids when they're with their dad. I do want to say a few things to clear up because there's definitely some rude comments, assumptions being made, and not that I owe anyone an explanation, but I feel like people are just genuinely curious. So I'm going to give some facts of like what the situation is.
Did you see her body transformation video after losing weight? Did you notice how her content has changed over time? Now, let's take a look at what her actual agreement with her ex-husband is. Because one thing is clear to me. She's just waiting for the perfect moment to make up a story that paints him as the abuser. But let's continue.
We do shared custody. My husband gets them Wednesday evenings, and then he gets them on the weekend. I get them one weekend a month now, so he has them 3 weekends and then Wednesday nights. So it's not quite 50-50, but it's pretty close. And I'm happy to be doing that with him. Like, it hurts me and it's hard. I don't like being without my kids, but he deserves time with his kids. My kids deserve to be with their dad. He's a great father. I don't in any way, shape, or form want to discourage, like, their relationship or have them not spend time together. Like, that is not the case. The assumptions people make over just, like, a 4-second video, I don't even know how long it was, of someone being sad that they didn't have their kids, like, the assumptions are crazy. I didn't lose custody of my kids. I'm just sharing them with their father like I should be because he's a good father and he deserves time with his kids and my kids should be with him too. But I was a stay-at-home mom. I was with my kids 24/7 and I freaking miss them when they are there and I'm just not used to it. I know it's going to be an adjustment. Reading all the comments really was super helpful. I've got so many good tips and just advice. And a lot of you said that, like, it doesn't necessarily get easier. Like, you learn to live with it and time kind of heals, like she said in her comment. So I'm looking forward to, like, one day just not feeling this overwhelming sense of doom, basically, is what it feels like when I don't have them. I feel like the most intense anxiety, it's like a physical thing and emotional, obviously. But
I just can't help it. Like, I try so hard to distract myself, and it doesn't really work. So I'm excited that, like, hopefully one day I'll be back to somewhat of a normal. But I just wanted to reiterate that, like, I know that it can be it's probably just as hard for their dad when he doesn't have them. And I recognize that. Like, my video had nothing to do with him or our situation or our divorce, really. It was just, I miss my kids when they're not with me. But I recognize that, like, he probably feels just as sad when he doesn't have them, and I don't wish that on him. I don't like that. Like, that sucks, and I'm not happy about that. Same with other dads. There was a lot of people in the comments like, well, how do you think the dads feel? I feel for the dads. I feel for everybody all around. Like, it's not like it's fair for everyone. It can be really difficult, and it can feel really unfair. And I realize that. So I just wanted to kind of clear the air on some of that stuff.
He's a good father, a good man. In short, the problem here is her. Because if this man has everything it takes to be a good father and partner, why didn't they stay together? This woman was a housewife, and now she seems like just another one who won't look for a job. She'll just make TikTok videos. Something very common these days. And on one thing, I agree. The father has the right to see his children. She's not the only one suffering. While she only loses a few days with the kids, men lose over 200 days a year if custody isn't 50-50. It's not easy for a father to be separated from his children, but the system allows it. If you have any doubts, watch the next video.
To drop my kids off for my ex-husband, he's literally the biggest asshole. The fact that he still has friends, or the people that we were friends with are still in his life, blows my mind, because I'm like, how could you guys be friends with someone who's literally such an asshole? My kids are crying. I really cannot wait until they get to an age where they can, like, decide who they want to be around or not be around. I don't know what his deal is right now. He's just been, like, literally the biggest a-hole to me. He owes me a bunch of money, from, like, half of, like, activities and school stuff, and so I don't know if that's what his deal is. I'm always like, bro, your alimony ends in a couple months. Like, get over it. Like, I don't know what your problem is. I do. It's really not what I saw on my bingo card. My divorce bingo card was not being able to co-parent with my ex-husband who cheated on me. I always tell people, I'm like, the easiest way to explain the way he treats me is you would think that he caught me in bed with his best friend. That's the easiest way. Because he treats me the way I should be treating him. Okay, I feel better. Thank you. I gotta get that out. I needed to get some tears out. I woke up today so motivated. I was like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, all these things, create all this content, do all this, and then on the drive over, also July was like the worst month of my life. This last July was, which is wild because every single July I've had something happen from a selfish person that just completely my life upside down. I just like talk about it yet.
Attention, brothers, attention addicts. How could this man not be angry? He has to pay child support and, on top of that, alimony to a woman he's no longer with. A while ago, I made a video about this same woman, where she said that if you're dating someone while going through a divorce, you should keep everything private. I can imagine her ex-husband must have loved that advice. Now she comes with the story that she wants harmony in co-parenting, while literally making him finance her happiness with alimony. In my opinion, this should be illegal. And on top of that, she demands even more money, claiming he owes her half of the kids' activity expenses. And here's the most ironic part. When they were married, she probably didn't sign the kids up for nearly as many activities. But they get divorced and suddenly, she enrolls them in everything, just to squeeze more money out of him. This is the sad reality for men.
Why would I help a man get on his feet if there are men who are already standing up?
Oh, darling, I got some bad news for you. You see, as one of those men who's gotten on his feet, probably has more money in the bank than you'll make in 3 lifetimes, has been very successful. The question you really need to be asking is not why would you help a man get on his feet, but why would a man who's on his feet want anything to do with you? Because what are you bringing to the table? Oh, I know. You're going to say this. Well, I hate to break it to you, but this ain't worth what you think it is. There's plenty of this to be found elsewhere. The fact of the matter is what you're showing to men who are on their feet is that you're nothing more than someone who's looking for a paycheck. You're looking for someone to take care of you. You're looking for someone to bear the burden for a lifestyle you think you deserve so that you don't have to put any effort into acquiring it. The reality is this is the mindset of most of today's modern women. The ones who think that they deserve it all while putting absolutely no effort in whatsoever. They think that they are all that, when in reality, they're anything but. And unfortunately for these women, reality is going to smack them right in the face in a few years. They're going to hit that wall, and they're going to realize that all their expectations and dreams about what men are supposed to do for them isn't going to come to fruition. They're going to end up alone and bitter. And then they're going to go making videos going, where are all the men at? That's the reality, ladies. And you got 2 choices. You can keep doing what you're doing, which is basically what this woman is doing, or you can accept the fact that you need to start making an effort also, that you aren't all that, and that you're really not bringing anything to the table that men would really want. That is the reality, like it or not.
Totally, brothers. As this man, who deserves a beer, said, the problem with many women is that they don't understand how the market works. No matter how much they try to set their own value, the market will always regulate them to their real worth. Another big mistake they make is believing they don't have to contribute anything to a man's life, that they can just sit and wait for the winner. But the reality is that many of those winners already chose their partner from the start. The process woman, the one who was with them when they had nothing. If you weren't there during my process, then at my completion, you need to bring more than just a pretty face. Because if you think that's enough, let me tell you, you've got it tough. There are thousands of younger women with a pretty face. But now, check out the next video about a woman who's already past her prime, who was a housewife, and who is now resentful towards men.
Okay, so I really want to make this video, and it's honestly super controversial. I think like a lot of men have had this same thought, but they don't want to talk about it. Because I'm like 27, I go to church, and I've started looking for a spouse. And it's just like you go in society today, and like the girls that I've met are just like, they're not like real women. Like they're not, I meet so many girls where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, make myself super attractive, and I'm only going to date him if he's like good looking and wealthy. Like, and I'm just like, where are like the real women? Like, where's the girl? Like, you know, like girls just aren't the way they used to be. They're not like how girls were in like the 1800s and like early 1900s, where it's like a real woman. Like, she grows up, she really wants to get married, she really wants to have kids. Like, she, you know, her favorite thing, like she loves to cook, she loves to clean, like she wants to get married and have kids so much, she like dreams about like be a good woman, because that's honestly what I'm really interested in.
I gotta show you how many notes I took just on this one video. I have so many thoughts. Let's start here. I never respond to videos because one guy is just kooky. I respond to things that I hear dialogued about within faith communities. This boy is just echoing stuff that I've heard from other people. Let's start at the beginning, where he says that he's looking for a spouse because he's a good church boy and he's ready to find a wife. I thought it was really interesting that he didn't say that he was looking for his soulmate, his best friend, a life partner, looking to fall in love, because that's not what he wants. And dear God, boy, the plural of woman is women, not womans. You're not looking for real womans. I thought this was satire, but it's not. Go watch his page.
Stop it. Get some help.
Brothers, if there's a woman who took it personally that her Mormon Christian ex-husband left her, it's this one. She was a housewife, and now she's back to being one, yet she's advising women not to be housewives. Ironic, isn't it? This is the kind of woman who tells a young girl, Don't do what I do what I say. But if that young girl ends up alone and miserable without a husband, she'll tell her it's fine, that she's a strong, independent woman. In short, she turns them into useful fools, women who get praised for doing something that even she didn't do herself. Because spreading misery is her true passion. Maybe this man was a bit extreme in what he asked for, or perhaps he just didn't express himself well. At the end of the day, he was simply looking for a traditional woman. But let's see what this woman has to say about it.
Except we're not girls. There are a bunch of girls just down the street from me at an elementary school having kindergarten lunch recess right now. I am a full-grown fucking adult. So talk about me accordingly. I am a woman. Point number 4, we no longer need you. This is a supply and demand issue. There's a lot of supply. There's 0 demand. We don't need you. Thus, we don't want you. And if we do decide that we want somebody, yeah, they better by hell be good looking, smart, funny, and loaded. And along with that, we women never liked cooking, cleaning, changing baby diapers, taking care of your house. We just had no other option. Those 1800 ladies that did that, they weren't real women. That was fake. I'm a teensy bit sorry that as this thinly veiled matrix of the patriarchy collapses and you see the reality of our situation, that it's causing you some emotional disruption, knowing the truth that we don't want to cook, that we don't want to clean, that we want to actually just go out and live our lives and enjoy them and decenter you, is probably really hard for you to cope with, especially because none of you guys have ever been raised with any type of emotional maturity. Let's see. I wouldn't date you if you paid me $1 million a week to do so, and I bet that most of the women watching this video would agree with me. So I kind of feel like what you want is irrelevant to everybody. Just know, babes. And lastly, you don't want love. You don't want a connection. You don't want intimacy. You are not looking for a best friend to walk through this life with. You are not seeking a relationship. You are looking for a transactionship. I think that what you really want is a pet. Maybe hire yourself a housekeeper, find some little sugar baby, and slap a sundress on her, see if she'll make you a sandwich. And for the ladies, come here. If we all stop breeding with narcissists, the narcissists will die off in a couple generations. This future will have you to think.
They say they don't need us, yet you live off your husband's money, who provides for you. How is it possible to be so contradictory? Now I fully understand the concept of the seller doesn't consume. If there were truly no demand for men, then why are there so many videos of women saying they can't find a partner, that all men are princesses? Why are so many women looking for a provider, a high-value man? Why do so many complain that men don't approach them and then lament in the comments about being single for years? The answer is simple. They do need us. But men are tired of women who don't want to contribute anything yet demand everything. And I can assure you that you, with your 2 sons, will be the first to complain when they bring home a woman who can't even make them a sandwich.
Yes, I'm in my feminine era, but apparently so are all the men.
Of course. Naturally.
Have we checked in on the men? Have you had a conversation with the men recently?
Yes, quite often, in fact. But I have a feeling this subject matter expert has noticed something that the rest of us may have not.
They're like baddies now, it's crazy.
Baddies. Okay.
Global problem. The other day my friend went out on a date with a man. He looked at the menu, looked up at her and goes, "Is it okay if I order the steak?"
So they were being considerate?
What? They want their bills paid too.
Well, maybe some of them were just trying to give women the equality that they've been asking for. Because there's a lot of women out there that want their bills paid.
They ask you what you bring to the table because they're hungry.
No. They're asking what women bring to the table. Because quite frankly, there's quite a lot of women out there that bring nothing to the table except for their appearance. And a lot of men want a little bit more substance to their relationships than just someone that's pretty.
A dog from the pound, but instead of a collar, they're wearing skinny jeans. Is this what they mean when they say no one is coming to save us?
I mean, in the spirit of equality and all. A lot of you call yourselves strong, independent women. Time to stand up and save yourself instead of relying on men to do it.
Brothers, wasn't she the one who said she didn't need us? Who's the one that doesn't want to be a strong, independent woman? Who's the one complaining about splitting the bill? Who's the one saying there are no more gentlemen or real men? She's entering her feminine era, but she wants a man to finance her. Yet if you ask her if she needs a man, she'll say she wants the bear, that she can handle everything, except paying the bill. Right here is where the whole argument from the other woman, who claimed she didn't need men, completely falls apart. But check out the next video, because there's more.
When I was younger, I used to think that if a guy didn't want a relationship, he didn't want to settle, it's because he was taking his time because he had so many options to choose from, which means he must be a guy that is desired. So if I get him, he becomes my boyfriend, that means that I got a guy that a lot of girls want. I started to realize, what are you doing? I've realized that that actually gives me the ick. Guys that are players that just want to play the field and they don't really want to settle and they like lie to girls to keep a string of girls around them for validation. For some reason, when I was younger, I was like, well, if this guy pays me more attention than all the other girls he's talking to and then ends up committing to me, then I'll be good enough. Like as if it was a game. Instead, now I'm like, if this guy meets me and we're on a date and he's not like, this is everything I want in a future wife, I'm good. Then I don't want that person. It really did take me so much growth and self-work to get to this point of, if a man doesn't want me, that's okay. I don't want him.
But weren't women supposed to be happier single? Here's the thing. What this girl is describing is simply pre-selection. She feels more attracted to men who have already been chosen by many women just as attractive as she is. She enjoys the competition. She likes winning over Chad. But now that she's approaching 30 and getting closer to the wall, the game changes. The wall doesn't forgive. Suddenly, her preferences shift, and a beta provider starts to seem more appealing. Why? Because now she wants a man who sees her as out of his league, who makes her his everything, who guarantees long-term financial security with a ring. But as we've always said here, if she truly wants something serious, she'll have to look for an average man and learn what men actually want. She can't keep thinking only about what she wants, because that's the problem. They don't look beyond their own interests. Meanwhile, men have already learned to look out for themselves. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, here are some questions for you. Why do some women demand so much from a man but don't want to contribute anything to the relationship? Why does a woman who was a housewife criticize men who are looking for a traditional wife? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.